Hey, everybody. Welcome to Northern Arizona Witches podcast. This is our first podcast. We're going to consider it a trial run. So, with the amount of questions that we get on Northern Arizona Witches, we thought this would be a great thing to start, and we've talked about it for quite a while. So,
Mhm.
this is our first episode, and my first guest on my first podcast episode is my mom and my partner in crime in Northern Arizona Witches and Witch Market AZ. So, my mom, Karen, is our very first guest. Mom, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've lived in Arizona and a general overview of just who you are?
Hi again. I'm Karen, Heather's mom. I've been in Arizona most of my life since I was 6 months old. Um, Family started out as sort of Christian. Went to church maybe twice my whole life. Um, Found the journey very young, being extremely psychic, and paranormal seems to find me. Um, did a few podcasts, which we will tell you later on about that. Um, let's see. I have been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've had many different businesses since Heather was young and her siblings, and some successful, some not, of course. But I did start Witch Market AZ. And how I started that was I myself, as you can see, I'm in my studio here, and I would do markets, local markets, do markets, etc. And found I could never get into the Witch Crafted Market down in Glendale. I went to it many times. I'm sure all of you have, and found out that it's just kind of who you know can get in. I do see where they add some extra vendors, but it's only by the grace that one leaves. So I had a hard time getting in. And so I knew there had to be people like me in Northern Arizona that wanted to share their crafts, and where we just all really didn't fit into your normal craft show. Generally, people would walk by our booth and give us a dirty look. And so not very successful at the craft shows. Um, and so I started Witch Market AZ, and it's a Northern Arizona based craft show and market. And when I started it, I had this great idea. I'm just going to start it, make a great Facebook page and an Instagram page, and that's where it ended for me. I had no idea what to do, and so I called my daughter, who is the podcast queen here,
Yes,
and
me.
yeah, and said, "Oh, help, please!" And so that's when she stepped in and did all the marketing, uh, became partners with me in the Witch Market Company. It became very successful. Had started a huge following. Our first show was in Jerome, which, well, we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah, let
so
me let me slow you down here for just a second. We go backwards to uh your journey into witchcraft and how of course I've been a part of it, but how it went from like kind of Christian, like a bad Christian, someone who showed up on Christmas and Easter to where you're at now.
oh gosh, like I said, my mom was Catholic. But I swear she had a witch in her, because she would turn her broom up um, all the time and say it could never be down, which I thought was pretty funny later on, learning some things.
It's old
She didn't force,
folklore, old folk magic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She didn't force us kids to go to church. If we wanted to go, we could. Of course, I didn't. I didn't feel comfortable, even at a young age there. But I think I have to say that the reason the craft developed in my heart strongly was kind of just, I'm alternative. I am psychic. I have had so many paranormal things happen to me, not just ghosty things, but just so many paranormal things. And most religions frown on you even being somewhat psychic, but or even talking about these taboo things. And I just didn't feel my heart belonged there. And so I think that was my choice. When I first started looking into witchcraft, I dabbled here, I dabbled there. I didn't really do any dabbling in the dark arts part of witchcraft. I've always found that I'm more of a gypsy love and light kind of gal, a moon lover. And so I ended up finding it was a funny story is I was literally taking a shower and I had my eyes closed, and I always do a lot of meditating and stuff like that, and releasing in the shower and stuff. And in my vision was a circle of witches, just dark silhouette of a bunch of witches in a circle. And it came and came and came every time I showered. And I was like, I didn't understand what it was. And then one day I just happened to be in a store and saw a book on Italian witchcraft. And I started reading it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my heritage. I am Italian. And it just everything just manifested right from there. So I am a Strega witch and I am a solitary practicing. And so that's how I became who I am today.
I remember as a kid, and of course, we weren't very Christian because you didn't grow up super Christian, and that definitely got watered down, when I was a kid and you were raising me. But we did
Mm-hmm.
celebrate Christmas and Easter and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
we never went to church as a family. But I
No.
remember there was a huge part of our family who was interested in the paranormal and the psychic stuff. And when
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia Brown was really big, everyone, and
Yeah.
this is our extended family as well, but everyone was reading Sylvia Brown, and
No.
we were talking about reincarnation, and we were talking about energy and the Akashic records. And I remember having these in-depth conversations with you, and you and I tended to
Mm-hmm.
have these really big spiritual conversations whenever we were road tripping.
Yes. And getting lost.
And getting lost. We once went to so speaking of Mom's Many Businesses, at one point, and those of you in the local Prescott area might remember a really cool, like, fun fashion store called Rage Apparel, and it was over at the end of Willow Creek next to, oh my gosh, Robex, my favorite smoothie place in
Yeah.
the world.
Oh
And
yes.
at one point we were, and this is just a side story, but at one point we were going to LA for a buying trip, and mom and I got into this deep spiritual conversation about, I'm sure it was about ghosts or energy or lore or something, because we've always talked about that
Something.
stuff.
Yep.
And we started to realize that we had missed a turn, or we had done something wrong, and we started looking around and we're like, where the heck are we? And then in the clouds we see a whole bunch of light pollution off in the distance, and somehow we drove from LA to Las Vegas. That's
Mm-hmm.
how absolutely out of it we were. And we were laughing so hard, but at the same time, I will give us a little bit of credit. It was prior to GPS being on your phones the way it is now.
Oh, that is true. That is true. And we had to call my husband and say, we're here and this is what we see. And he's like, oh, you'll be seeing a road come up. Take that. You'll go through what was called Searchlight. So we turn and it's pitch black. I mean, pitch black. We were the only ones on the road at 2 a.m. And talk about engaging in the paranormal and spooky stories. That's what got us
Yeah,
through Searchlight.
driving through the desert through Searchlight with no active navigation going. Man, it was
No.
wild times before smartphones. And I'm sure
Oh,
smartphones
well,
existed at the time. It was just like it was not something that we had yet. But
no. Mm-mm.
yeah, fun stuff. But I remember another thing that our family used to do, and maybe in my little kid mind it's a lot more than it actually was. I felt like you and my aunts, you and your sisters would get together like at least once a season and do the Ouija board.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody is terrified of the Ouija board. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And
Mm-hmm.
I was so confused as a kid because my family treated it as like this big get together. And we would get together and do the Ouija board. And as a kid, I was just so fascinated with that. It reminds me of the 1800s era spiritualist movement is how our family kind of was at the time, is we were very much about trying to contact the other side and understand the
Oh,
unseen.
our favorite family outing was going ghost hunting at cemeteries, and still to this day have a huge love for old cemeteries. On our vacations, we're like, oh, where's the cemeteries? So we're kind
Yeah,
of a weird, creepy family, if you will.
we're an odd family that way. And Tim and I have started basically a paranormal bingo of checking off all these paranormal destinations that we have always dreamed of investigating. So um
Mhm.
we've done the West Virginia State Penitentiary. We got to Bobby Mackey's before it got bulldozed recently. And we just did
Nice.
the North Carolina, the USS North Carolina ship here in North Carolina where we are at right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but ghost hunting stories, I remember I was probably in my early 20s and we had been going ghost hunting like almost every weekend as a family. And it's a combined family with your husband and his kids and your kids. And so there was a lot of us going ghost hunting as a family every
Mm-hmm.
weekend. And I remember your husband's oldest son, and I'm the oldest out of everyone. I
Yep.
was probably in my early 20s. We decided we wanted to go ghost hunting, and you and your husband were not in the mood that night. So we took all
Right.
of the
Oh,
we took all the younger kids to the big graveyard in Prescott, and
oh, yeah.
we we were out there ghost hunting.
And we get the call. We get the call.
I, and six police officers, six cars pulled us over
Oh,
and asked us what we were doing. And thankfully, I was pretty calm, not too freaked out. I thought it was a little overkill. But they asked us if
what's your names? Remember, what's your
well,
names?
yeah, what's your names and last names? And of course, because we're a combined family, everybody had different
Yes.
last names. So I couldn't claim that they were all my siblings. So of course they had to call the parents. And
Mhm.
I remember hearing Michael through the police officer's phone. And I remember the officer going, "Do you know where your kids are right now?" And then I remember Michael
Yeah.
going, "I'm really hoping they're at the graveyard."
What? Yep.
I remember the officer's face going like, "This guy's just cool with it."
Yeah. That really was one of the greatest stories because he was. It's the first time I've seen a police officer have no words. It was really funny.
Just dead
Really funny.
silent because I'm sure our story sounded so made up to an officer. Like, "Oh yeah, our parents know that we're at the graveyard." And I don't think I said we were ghost hunting. I think I said we were visiting someone.
Yeah.
And they were perfectly nice. To be super to be candid, they were perfectly nice. They were just concerned about people graffitiing and defacing headstones, and that's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely
Mm-hmm.
not why we were there. So it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
fine. It was just a lot of officers for a bunch of young people.
Well, and what do they
So,
say? Well, they just can't be here at night. It's like, well, and I think I said, but it's night. That's when you ghost hunt, you know? It's like, we're not going to send our kids to ghost hunt during the day. That's not fun. Although, of course, there'd be spirits there. But they don't
well,
determine during the night, but, it was just
right.
funny. It
And
was
to
funny.
be fair, I do believe the sign says closed at dusk. So that's on us, but it's a good family story. And there's definitely ghost hunting stories. There's a couple of creepy ones that I can remember right off the bat of us as a family. The
Mm-hmm.
Halloween ghost hunting trauma comes to mind. So if anyone's
Oh,
interested in hearing our family reminisce about ghost stories and paranormal experiences, please comment. We will be happy to share those stories. And this podcast is
yeah.
definitely going to depend. This podcast is definitely going to depend on engagement and your interaction, just to make sure it's worth doing it. So,
Mhm.
Mom, you started what? So you said you started witchcrafted or started witch market after you weren't able to get into witchcrafted after trying several times and feeling
Yes.
frustrated because
Yes.
there was no real space to sell our things in northern Arizona. So
Mhm.
you got me on board helping with marketing and organization and planning.
Mhm.
That first market, take us back to the first market. How
Oh,
was that for you?
do I have to? Well, I we booked Jerome Spook Hall, and of course, you and I are like, it's haunted, right? We have to
Right.
do it there. We have to. So booked it, and we thought, well, we thought we knew what we were doing. We really did. We had it marked out, of course, and we thought, oh no, the weather turned. Because, of course, March in Arizona, especially northern Arizona, you really can't plan anything in March because it either rains, snows, or it's a windstorm. And we thought, oh, this is a disaster because just going up the windy road, which I think there's what, like 20, how many curves going up Jerome? There's like this, they have this t-shirt even. It's like,
There
oh,
is a
all these
t-shirt.
curves. Yeah, I
I'd
don't
have to
remember
look up.
curves. Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
have to look it up.
Yeah. So what? We get up there. Well, we blast an email and say, if you don't feel safe coming up the mountain, please don't. Your life's not worth it. It's just a craft show. Da, da, da. I
Mm.
remember that. And we got there a little late because of the snow. And then we pull in, and there's a long line of vendors just waiting to get into Spook Hall. And we were like, they love us, feeling. And we were so proud at that moment. We really were. Until we tried to place everybody. Then what happened, Heather?
I think, and maybe not all the vendors who participated know this, but like a little behind the scenes is like with all the vendors coming in and out and people canceling or people adding an additional person, and then us
Yeah.
realizing when we're organizing, we realize, oh crap, we put two people who sell crystals right next to each other, so you rearrange. And what happened is I had a list of all the names and their spot number on it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I had a layout, and that was supposed to work by identifying your number and then finding your spot on the layout, but unfortunately the names didn't change with all the different changes we made. So
Yeah.
it was definitely it was definitely hectic. And to answer your question, there are 37 curves on Highway 89A, in just 5 miles.
Yeah.
So
And
for those of you not
full
from
of
northern
snow.
Arizona, yeah, for those of you not from Arizona and or have never been to Jerome, it's a very windy cliff road that us locals get pretty used to, but it's pretty precarious.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a fear of heights, it definitely pulls on that. And to add snow into the mixture, sometimes that road completely shuts down if there's snow. So where
does.
we were at is thinking that our first show was taking place in a city that was going to get completely cut off for the day. So,
It
and
was pretty. It was pretty fun.
to be honest, I'm a bit of a nervous driver, and I'm a nervous driver on that road in a bigger truck. I'm not a daily driver, and so I wanted to go around the mountain, and we ended up arriving after a few of our vendors, which was even more like, oh my gosh, I wanted to be there before everyone else. But the road was fine, and what ended up happening was the day ended up being just so I was so proud and so satisfied of what we did and how we pulled everyone together.
Yeah,
And it was
I felt so proud too.
the first time, I think, since identifying as a witchy inclined person, that I actually felt immersed in the witchy community. And I had been down to
Mhm.
Witchcrafted Market, but to the way ours differed, and maybe it's because we were hosting it, but we talked
Mhm.
to everyone, and it felt like everyone was talking to each other, and it was like we were all just so excited to see other people who were into the same stuff as us all in one place in, rural northern Arizona.
I think that day was the beginning of the Witch Market AZ community. And it's just developed into, into a huge following. And we're grateful and we love all of you. And we can't wait for more shows, and the podcast that you're doing, Heather, is, I think, essential to the community. It will allow so much expansion in promoting community, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, there's a lot of things that are in the works, and there's a lot of ideas that have been compiled, and a lot of those are creating a platform where we can really have a discussion on. So, this is a call to
Yeah.
action to anybody who's listening. If you're interested in being interviewed, if you
Yes.
have a topic idea, if you have a question, if you have a local lore story that you want to share, please email us at northernArizonaWitches@gmail.com with any input that you have. And the more you interact, the more podcasts I will produce. We already have such a cool community of people that we can talk to here. And what comes to mind is, we have a high priest in the Silver Ravenwolf coven from back east. If you don't know who Silver Ravenwolf is, she has written quite a few books on Wiccan, and gosh, off the top of my head, Teen Witch, To Ride a Silver Broomstick, Solitary Witch. Um, I've read most of those. That's where I definitely started in the craft, was going down, reading about Wiccan, and I really fell in love with it. I don't identify as a Wiccan anymore, but I feel my practice has really evolved into more working with energy, more understanding quantum thinking. I'm a certified life coach. I'm about hacking the psychology, the mechanics, and the magic behind it. So I'm really open to learning a lot of different ways and a lot of different practices. I have a fascination with lore and cryptids. So those are subjects that we can cover. We can do a book club where we cover a recent witchy book. There's been questions about um, disposing of any spellcraft kind of debris properly, and there's been questions about how to properly honor the land and sacred sites. So many of those can be topics of conversation, but we're going to need your interaction and we're going to need your comments, um, and shares to get the podcast going.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting news. I hope you all have ideas, want to be on her podcast, and email ideas, email if you'd like to join her. I'm her first subject, nervous.
First subject. You're my first experiment. So, a couple of things, a couple of questions that have just happened in our community lately. And if you want to be a part of the community, we have a pretty active Facebook group, Northern Arizona Witches, on Facebook. You can talk to us there, shout out there. Mom owns Witch Market AZ. She throws a couple of witch markets every year with my help. If you are interested in being a vendor for Witch Market AZ, please email an inquiry to witchmarketaz@gmail.com. We every email that we get, we will send an application to when the market opens up. We have always operated on first come, first served due to your experience with the Rich Crafted Market. So we may offer a day or two head start for some of our reoccurring vendors, but we do not guarantee them a spot.
That's cool.
Because we want everyone to be able to start. If you're new to markets or you have a craft and you've never done a market, please email me at witchmarketaz and email my mom as well. We're happy to ask beginner questions, and we don't expect you to come into it knowing everything. And that's how I feel most witchy people are, is nobody expects you to be know everything. They just expect you to come from a place of learning and respect. So, Mom, are you working on anything? Are you working on anything cool in your studio? Oh, you froze on my end for a second, so just hang tight, holding it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What kind of stone is that?
I don't know what kind of stone. I forgot. I think it's I don't know. I cannot say, but I sold this to a gal at one of the shows, and she had approached me at the last show and said that she's pretty rough on her jewelry, like somebody else I know, and asked me to fix it. So anyway, it is fixed and reset, and yeah, it just has to be polished, but that's what I'm working on.
That is surprising to me because you're really good at identifying stones, which is not a place that I thrive in. I think crystals are beautiful. I occasionally feel some pretty cool vibes off of them, but for the most part, I'm just like, ooh, shiny.
Yes, yes, I know. Well, and I just and I finished this one. It's just a long stone.
That's pretty. That's really pretty.
And this is just an agate, but kind of long, and the band is kind of pretty, but
super pretty. I love the long stone like that. Is there anything else you want to add, Mom?
No, just everybody listen to her podcast and support and email any ideas. If you want to be involved, we welcome you and we thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And please comment if you want more, and we'll be happy to do more episodes. Like I said, I have interview ideas, and email us at northernarizonaWitches@gmail.com if you have anything to say. Thank you. Bye, Mom. Thank you. I love ya.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Blessed be.
Bye. Blessed be.